back with comedian David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. So, big news today in the vaccine world. AstraZeneca has withdrawn the COVID-19 vaccine globally, worldwide, everywhere. They've pulled it off the shelves due to a decline in demand. A decline in demand and some bullshit about safety or whatever. I don't know, but mainly decline in demand. A decline in demand due to their customers dying. Not from the vaccine though, from, I don't know, some other shit. Clots. Early onset aging. I can't wait for 10 years from now to watch the documentaries about this time now, the last couple of years and the next few years. If I'm not in a cell somewhere being tortured, I can't wait to be on the couch watching the documentaries, because the docos are going to be fucking wild. My children's generation are going to be like, why the fuck did you let these cunts do all that shit to you? And I'll be like, it wasn't me. It fucking wasn't me. And they'll be like, why didn't anyone say anything? Why didn't anyone try and stop it? I'm like, one man did. One man, one voice tried to stop it. Like Gandhi's walk to the fucking ocean, Bogan Jesus, Andrew Roberts walked to the shrine. That was symbolic. But besides him, pretty much no one was talking about anything. He fought World War III by himself. He's a war hero. So it's all over the news today, the AstraZeneca being withdrawn. And I looked it up, and on the Australian government website, health website, they withdrew AstraZeneca in March 2023 due to safety concerns, thrombosis or some shit. So, you know, whatevs. I can't believe people aren't just fucking ripping every single politician, every single fucking government shill doctor, every single fucking newsreader, every fucking pro-vaccination fucking cunt that fucking coerced the whole entire population into getting the vaccine. I can't believe there isn't just an angry mob ripping these cunts out of their fucking houses and just lynching them. It wouldn't be the Buddhist thing to do. I wouldn't recommend it. I'm just shocked. I'm shocked people aren't angry enough to do that. I suppose when your rent's doubled and your food is doubled and your electricity's up 78%, you got bigger problems to worry about. There's bigger fish to fry, like how am I going to earn enough just to survive? The AstraZeneca one was the one they gave to everyone in India while I was there. And over the last 6 months, 4 of my wife's friends or friends of friends or a family friend's friend type thing in their 30s to early 40s have just dropped dead for no rhyme or reason. Just dead. Everyone's like, this is very strange, isn't it? It seems strange, but it's just one of those little secrets we got to keep amongst ourselves, don't we? It's that little voice of doubt in the back of your head that you just got to shut the fuck up. Shut up! Anyway, I was reading yesterday that the New South Wales government, the state that the stabbing attack happened, that everyone's already forgotten about. Well, the government's given the police wild new powers to search anyone suspected of carrying a knife. No questions asked. If you're suspected of carrying a knife, then fucking spread the cheeks, because we're looking in. And they're like, these new laws will deter people from carrying knives. And other people are saying knife crime in Australia is down fucking 20% in the last 10 years. Or basically it's fucking zero. With the population we've got, it's virtually zero. So, I don't know, maybe I'm just being fucking cynical But maybe that's why there was a candlelight vigil after the attacks at the shopping center. Who knows? Anyway, I don't know if any of you are paying attention to what's happening in Japan at the moment. The yen is losing value rapidly, and there is nothing the Japanese can do about it. They are so completely fucked that anything they do now is gonna just make problems worse. So I'll just quickly explain it as quick as I can, because I need to get to Boyle Breaks history, which is also Japan. It's about Japan, and I'll tell you this. I'll tell you what I noticed since I have become a history buff in the last 3 weeks. A full-on hardcore history buff for 21 days. I've noticed that it takes a lot longer for things to play out than you think. Like the consequences of something that happens play out over like a century. It's not an immediate fucking thing. It's like the famous thing Mao Zedong said. Apparently he didn't actually say it, but there's truth to it anyway. So Mao Zedong was asked in, I think it was 1968, what he thought the consequences of the French Revolution was, which was like 76 or something. And Mao was like, it's too early to tell. But apparently he didn't say that. He just got confused about what he was ordering for lunch. Anyway, back to Japan. So at the moment, presently, the yen is being basically inflated. It's losing value because the Japanese are at 260% debt to GDP. They are in debt up to their fucking eyeballs. So when the rest of the world, the US included, began raising interest rates, the Japanese couldn't. Because if they raise interest rates at 260% debt to GDP, the economy crashes almost immediately. So they had to keep their interest rates low, very low. Japan basically need to be just dishing out fucking debt constantly to keep the fucking economy afloat. So what the result of Japan not being able to raise interest rates was people and the market started doing what is called a carry trade. So people would take out massive loans at 0.5% in the Japanese yen and go straight to the US and buy US treasury bonds, or just even keep it in a fucking savings account at 4.5%, 5%. And you just use the difference in the interest rate to pay back the Japanese loan. So you're earning like 4.5% for doing nothing, just taking out the loan in Japanese yen. So what happens then is, because everyone's taking out these loans in yen, the yen is becoming less valuable and it starts getting devalued. So the yen has gone from like 110 yen per dollar to, I think it was last week, 160 yen per dollar, a 30 or 40 year high. So before then, the yen went up to about 150 and the Bank of Japan started panicking. They're like, the yen is becoming fucking worthless. We need to raise interest rates. So they raised interest rates, and that brought the yen back down to like 130 to the dollar, because that trade wasn't as valuable. But that only bought them time. People continued doing it, and the value of the yen went from like 130 to the dollar to 145 to 150, eventually to 160. And then last week, when it hit 160, the Bank of Japan, the Japanese government, intervened. So Japan has about $1 trillion worth of US bonds. It can sell to buy yen to bring the value of the yen back down. So what they did was they sold about $50 billion worth of US treasuries, US dollars, it's just dollars, and bought yen. And this took the yen from 160 to the dollar to 150. And that was meant to buy them a good amount of time. It lasted about 4 days or 5 days. It went from 150 to 152 to 56, back up again. And then Japan had to intervene again and sell US treasuries and buy the yen. So it didn't go crazy. So it didn't go to 200 yen per dollar, 300 yen per dollar. Because once it starts getting that high, it's all fucking over. Your currency is basically hyperinflated. Going to Japan will be like going to fucking the Philippines or something like that. You'll be having like world-class sushi for like $2. So they intervened again and the price of the yen went straight back up in like 2 days. It's meant to buy them time, but they're getting no time. So that's not working. And here's the problem. Here's the big problem. They have those $1 trillion worth of US bonds. They can sell them to protect the yen, to bring the yen back down. But what happens is when you sell the US treasuries, the yields for US treasuries in the US go up, which, by the way, the US don't want to happen. So if Japan started selling all their treasuries, fucking Janet Yellen would be on the phone saying, fucking konnichiwa, stop that fucking shit. You're blowing up our bond market. But what happens when the treasury yields in the US go up is that carry trade where people borrow the yen at the low interest rate and go to the US and buy US dollars at the high yielding interest rate, that becomes attractive again. Because when you sell the treasuries, the interest rate goes up in the US. So no matter what Japan do, they are fucked. It's real bad. And, this has been a long episode already. But the reason I bring all this up and the Boyle Breaks history is because this all started way back in 1985 with the Plaza Accord. Now, the Plaza Accord was an agreement brokered by the big Western powers at the time, the US, West Germany, France, Japan, England, and was there anyone else? Who gives a fuck if there was? And what they came together to do was reduce the value of the US dollar because interest rates in the US had been raised to like all-time highs, 19%, and the US dollar was becoming super strong, and the deficit in the US under Reagan was getting out of control because the US dollar was becoming too strong. They weren't exporting anything. No one could buy anything off the US. So they all came together and they were like, we're going to devalue the US dollar. And their plan was to get it down like 15%. But the markets got wind of what they were going to do. And over the next 2 years, the yen to the US dollar went from 300 yen to the dollar to 120 yen to the dollar. Completely fucking Japan over. Because what happened after that was Japan became too expensive to buy from. The yen was too strong, so their exports got fucking decimated. And to keep their economy afloat, they had to stimulate it by fucking just printing money. It's always printing money. So they printed money out of control. There was an asset bubble. There was a currency crisis. It was chaos. But the fucking repercussions of the Plaza Accord are still being felt in Japan today. And it never got resolved. So that's what we have now in Japan. the debt to GDP at 260%, and nowhere to go. That's what happens. This is what happens eventually when you just continually print money. People think you can get away with it forever, but every single time it blows up. Every single time. And we're watching it in real time now with Japan. So it'll be interesting to see what Japan does to continue the charade, because the US aren't going to let them sell the $1 trillion worth of treasuries, because that will fucking decimate the US treasury market. That will raise yields, interest rates in the US, and it would probably send the US into a fucking immediate depression. So keep your eye on that. So that's the Plaza Accord via a long-winded explanation of what's going on in Japan today. Anyway, I hope you got something out of that. It was probably boring as fuck, but I'm interested in these sorts of things now, history and economics. Anyway, that'll do for today, and I'll see ya the fuck later.